Good morning, Locust Valley, and welcome back to another Ask Me Almost Anything episode. I'm Peter Vitale,
And I'm Dylan Chabrier.
and today's special guest we have Miss Masa.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Miss Masa. So, can you share a little bit about your background at Locust Valley and what led you to become a vice principal?
Sure. I started at Locust Valley 16 years ago. I was a special education teacher. From there, that position was accessed, and I had the opportunity to become a social studies teacher. And then throughout the years, I became both a special education teacher and a social studies teacher. So I had the opportunity to teach the AP, the IB, and all different levels. From there, I became the special education testing coordinator. And the dean at the same time. Then I became the administrative dean, and then I became the assistant principal. Throughout that whole time, though, I coached softball here, so I was the JV coach for a number of years, and then I moved to the varsity program.
Nice.
Awesome.
And what were some of your biggest challenges that you have faced in the roles that you've had?
I think when you're implementing something maybe new or something that people don't really agree with, so I would say one of the biggest challenges was the masks during COVID.
The masks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think are like the most important qualities for a vice principal to have, like that you possess?
I think you have to do a lot of listening. I think that you have to really understand the different perspectives
Yeah.
of what, who you're listening to.
Yeah.
It's, listening to the teacher, listening to the parents, and then most importantly, listening to the student.
Yeah.
And trying to follow the code of conduct, but also treating people like they're human and
Yeah.
making sure that they understand,
Yeah.
that you are listening to them, but sometimes there still is a consequence.
Like you're just taking into account like who the person is, like what they've been through, or like some things like that.
Yeah, the backstory matters. So what led them to potentially make that decision, and
Yeah.
then ultimately, what's the goal? The goal is to change the behavior, right? So
Yeah.
you have to kind of understand the student.
Like where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have like a memorable moment of success story? Like since you've been here at Locust Valley, like did you win anything in softball or like anything like that?
Yeah, there's a few. There was a few, coaching awards, and then, we almost won the counties. But it was really, I think, with softball, one of the best memories or times I ever had at Locust Valley. A lot of great students, and I had the opportunity to coach with phenomenal coaches,
Yeah.
including Miss Reno and Miss Pacifico. And I think that Miss Pacifico and I just really coached so well together
Yeah.
that it just made it
Yeah.
really, really fun.
Wait, so when did you coach, or when did you stop coaching?
So when COVID hit that last year, I had a phenomenal pitcher named Paige O'Brien, and her senior year they couldn't play.
Yeah.
And then after that, my own children had, gotten older to an age where I had to invest in their
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah. All right.
And what advice would you give like a student who is struggling academically or personally? And that can go towards like softball as well, like when you were coaching. Like maybe if there's like a student that's like not playing as well as maybe they should be, just like a struggling student overall.
So I do think that whatever mantra you're telling yourself, you're going to become that. So
Yeah.
I think that self-talk is really important. And I also will tell them that we're not the same people we were at 14 and 15 and
Yeah.
16 years old. And they're going to evolve. And because they weren't really good students or because they made mistakes potentially here, that doesn't define them out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that a lot of students only know high school, so they
Yeah.
think it's their everything.
Yeah.
But there's so much more of their
Yeah.
life left, and if they could just give themselves the opportunity to grow.
Yeah, it's just like continuing to build as a person.
Yeah,
overall.
evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about present day, how do you feel about the phone policies at Locust Valley currently? And do you believe these policies have been effective?
So I think that we went back and forth throughout the summer. And I think that it is a distraction, and it's really difficult to kind of put your phone down. My favorite day sometimes is when I forget my phone at home.
Yeah.
but then, certain times you can't get on like your computer without a code.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give students the opportunity to begin to, think like an adult. If I'm in a meeting, I can't have my phone out.
Yeah.
Or if someone is presenting something to me that I really need to understand, I can't have my phone out. So we wanted to treat the students and help them create like a balance for themselves and say like, all right, when I'm in the academic setting, I can't have my phone out.
Yeah.
But when I'm, in the cafeteria or in a study hall and in the library, then I can. It gets difficult because you have a large number of students, and I think that it's difficult for them to balance themselves.
Yeah.
So I think in certain spaces, in certain classrooms, yes. I speak to students that are like, I know in so-and-so's class, I can't even touch my phone.
Yeah.
And I think that when they have their phones away, I look at all the data for the quarter 1, quarter 2, and then eventually quarter 3 grades.
Yep.
And I think when you look at students who kind of had their phones away and were able to become more focused, then I do think that it has that ability to like help them do better in school.
Yeah,
But
so-
it's a hard policy, and
Yeah.
listen, I get it. Like, who wants to be without their phone?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
especially- yeah.
you have seen it like working like positively for students.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You see a change in just their overall grades,
Yeah.
and kind of it's not a battle anymore between the teacher and the student.
Yeah.
It's a way, and you don't
Yeah.
have to remind them to put it away. You kind of just focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially just because of like how important the internet is for all of us now. It's just like we're always on it, and like it's probably a good idea to like limit it a little bit, especially when we got to be working.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you guys like miss the opportunity to like be in the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think like just kind of helping you guys be present.
Yeah, I feel like that's just how our generation is. Like, especially like us, like young, like high school. I feel like we've always just like been around our phones, and like I agree with it. Like sometimes, like it's good just to like put your phone down, and just live in the moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, like personally, I do struggle with it. I mean, like I always want to be in my phone, but like when you put it down, just live in the moment. Like I said, like it does make a difference positively for me.
Yeah, and I do think you guys have like kind of a right to privacy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everyone should know your like every moment with like snapping or like knowing your locations. Like,
Yeah.
I just think like
Yeah.
you guys just need to break away sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And do you have any like future plans or ideas for this school, like the new phone policy?
No, I don't have any future plans.
Yeah.
I just kind of will listen to what the directive maybe is from like the governor, and
Yeah.
continue to support whatever the Board of Education says, and,
Yeah.
and of course the superintendent. That's
Yeah.
really my role. My role is to support whatever policy that they put
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
So whatever direction that they go in,
Yeah.
I'll definitely support.
Yeah.
I heard over the summer they're going to be working on extending the student parking lot, right?
Yes.
I heard
Yeah.
about that. So what are your
That's good.
thoughts on that?
So I was here when students were able to park every day, and it really did become very unsafe because you just had so many students parking in spots that weren't really spots. And then to implement the A-Day, B-Day was really difficult. And I
Yeah.
understood it. You're a senior, you finally have your license, you're
Yeah.
finally able to drive, and then you can't drive on a B-Day. So I'm really excited for
Yeah.
everyone to have a space. I'm really excited for them to do the layout. There's a lot of sometimes contention in the parking lot because
Yeah.
a parent, just wants to pick up their kid, but then they have to move because it's just not safe where they
Yeah.
are. So I cannot tell you how excited I am about
Yeah.
the parking lot, and just to have
Yeah.
like one less thing
Yeah.
for everyone to be stressed about.
Where are you gonna be extending it to? Like, do you know like what the layout looks
Student
like?
Hill, right?
No, I really was part of multiple conversations,
Yeah.
but I did hear that the Hill, there will be
Yeah.
part of the Hill. It's really
Yeah.
important to,
Yeah.
the alumni, that Hill.
Yeah.
So I do
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
that's not totally going away.
Yeah.
But
It'd be a big job too. It's a big hill.
yeah. But I do think, I don't know if you guys, know him, but, we have a great facilities guy, Eric.
Yeah.
And he just is very forward thinking. So it's not just how is this parking lot going to help us tomorrow, but in 10
Yeah.
years down the road.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah.
But like as seniors, like sometimes there's just like a lot of congestion, or like,
Yeah.
or like when the cars are like parking on like the hill,
Yes.
like the dirt. Like I understand it. Like there's no spots and stuff. Like I've done it, but yeah, like definitely extending the parking lot is going to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to love it too.
Yeah, and I just think, it's an upgrade, right? And so that
Yeah.
it brings more value and it makes,
Yeah.
the school look, so beautiful.
Look good, yeah. And what was your first ever job before LV?
So I had finished playing college softball and I was hired in event management at Hofstra University. And at the time you were able to apply to like be a grad assistantship.
Yeah.
So they would, pay for my grad school. So I planned parties, and I planned events at Hofstra, and then I was going into education, and at that time the New York Jets were at Hofstra.
Yeah.
And we had a group of us had helped plan like an event for them.
Yeah.
And then a few of them at the Jets came over to us and said, we would like to interview myself and 2 other people
Yeah.
for a job to work for the Jets.
Really?
That's cool.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. I totally said no.
That's such a cool opportunity.
Yeah,
That is a cool
I don't know if I would have got it, but
Yeah.
it was nice to be asked to interview
Yeah.
just to see if I wanted to go into that direction. But I stayed with education.
Yeah. So you played college softball. Like, where'd you play?
I played at Hofstra.
Okay.
But softball is that type of sport where you only need one pitcher.
Yeah.
And they had like a monster from Canada.
Yeah.
And this other girl from Boston. So I was more of a relief pitcher,
Yeah.
but I had the best coach, a guy
Yeah.
named Bill Edwards. They actually named the stadium after him.
Really?
And I think that softball really, I just think sports taught me more about like life
Yeah.
than anything else.
No, yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
What's a hobby outside of work for you?
I would say like any type of working out or
Working out.
or
it's like
or
staying
lifting.
active.
Yeah.
I feel like once you're like into sports young and like you've always been active, I feel like it just
Yeah.
stays with you. Like working out, anything, walking,
Yeah.
like it stays with you.
I think at every age people should be
Yeah.
very physically
Yeah. I
active.
feel like it just stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All lessons, everything, like what we just said.
But then you have like sometimes you have to like let it go. Sometimes we become a little bit too competitive in my house
Yeah.
because of
yeah.
it.
I agree with that.
So I'm gonna assume, obviously you've coached softball, so it's probably something you've played in high school. Or-
Yeah.
Okay, so softball. What else did you do in high school? Is that pretty much it, or?
So when I played softball in high school, there weren't many or any travel teams
Yeah.
in Nassau. So we had to
Yeah.
go to
Outside of
Suffolk.
school.
Yeah. So Suffolk was huge, and Bay Shore was a powerhouse and
Yeah.
really hot pog.
Yeah.
So I was able to play volleyball in high school.
Okay.
But my weekends and my, like a lot of my life, my parents were driving to Suffolk.
It was just, yeah.
And it
I was
was
gonna
far.
say, from watching you volley in the valley, you probably did play.
I did terrible. Mr. Puka like spiked it on me. I was like, wow, can we like run that back? But my team did really well. Actually,
Yeah.
Mr. DiClemente did awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. It wasn't a good showing for me this year.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to a school called H. Frank Carey,
Okay.
but we just called it Carey.
Yeah.
And it's part of Sewanaka School
Yeah.
District, has 5 schools.
Yeah.
And which is kind of, we had like battle of the grades.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where all of the 5 schools competed against each other.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I know like a lot of schools like not that we don't take it seriously, but like they take it very serious. Like, did you guys take it like incredibly serious?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it was like bragging rights, like
Yeah.
who is the best athletes in the district, you
Yeah,
know?
basically.
So, yeah, and then when we did junior senior challenge night,
Okay.
which we loved, and like our junior year we won, but like
Yeah.
usually the seniors just win, but
Yeah.
like that was a lot of fun.
So like kind of similar to like battle of the grades,
Yes.
just
Yep.
like versus seniors and juniors
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, and you were talking about how you had an awesome coach. Like, is that someone you would consider looking up to? Like, is that someone you've looked up to?
Yeah, I would say that he still probably has an impact on my life.
Yeah.
I think you go through huge setbacks in sports that at the time you feel like are devastating.
Yeah.
But once you like realize like, no, that's like actually pain I could use later in life.
Yeah.
So he just his like mindset to like just have he had a resilient mindset before it was
Yeah.
popular. So to like really learn from him and to
Yeah.
understand how to build that resilience,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
Is there like something he ever said or like a message that like has stayed with you to this day?
It was really just about work ethic, and it was about when you get on that field, you know, no one cares if you're tired, no one cares if
Yeah.
you're fighting with your friends, no one
Yeah.
cares if you're failing. You go onto that field and you give 100%.
Yeah.
And I think to build that habit of when you know, when I step into Locust Valley, everything else that may be or could be impacting my life doesn't matter. I'm here to do a job.
Yeah.
I'm here to work.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great way to look at it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have 2 older brothers.
Okay.
But I had my uncle had 8 children.
Wow.
Oh wow.
5 of them were boys, and I come from a wrestling family.
Okay.
Oh.
So, and my dad was like obsessed. So we had like a wrestling mat in my basement, like
Wow.
a wrestling room.
So obviously your brothers wrestled.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So you're the youngest?
I was the youngest as far as my own family, and then
Yeah.
I was middle of the pack. We only
Yeah.
lived like 5 blocks away from each other, so
Yeah.
we were always
Okay.
together.
How much older are your brothers than you?
So my eldest brother Al is 8 years older than me. He's a social studies teacher, so we talk a lot about
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
and the future of education. And
Yeah.
then my other brother's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, have you always like been into like education? Like, is that something you always wanted to pursue? Like you and your brother?
I think for me, I wanted to coach.
Yeah.
So for a little while, I thought that maybe I would be a college coach.
Yeah.
And then I took a few education classes, and I was able to do observation hours, and I
Yeah.
realized that I didn't want to be in the elementary school.
Yeah.
So the middle high school is kind of where I felt like
Yeah.
I could have the most impact,
Yeah.
so at a young age, I knew I was going to be in
Yeah.
education.
And you studied education in college?
I was a history major.
History.
So
Yeah.
I loved history.
Yeah.
And then, I got my master's in education.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
I'm gonna ask one more question because
ahead.
we gotta wrap it up.
Okay.
But is there any like what season of the year like is like your favorite time to be working here?
Fall.
Fall time.
Yeah, because
Like
everybody
Halloween.
comes back happy.
And that too, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and they want to
coming.
be here and they want to see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's nice to see, like, again, like
Yeah.
how many, how the students have like evolved
Yeah.
and grew. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's spring, like spring break, like,
Yeah.
it's that time, like,
Yeah.
especially for
Spring break
seniors.
is difficult in my space. A lot of
Yeah.
people are checking out.
That's exactly why I said that.
Yeah.
And also just like because like homecoming as well is in the fall time, so
yeah.
it's like that's like
Yeah.
a good way to open the year off.
Yeah.
Start the year off.
It's
so,
a lot
yeah.
of pride
Yeah.
in Locust Valley, which I love to see.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yep.